Hi friends, this is immigration lawyer Marina Shepelsky in New York City, making a video about the new Uniting for Ukraine program for Ukrainian refugees to come to the United States. This video is in English for my non-Russian speaking friends, for people who are interested in becoming a sponsor or a supporter, as this process will call you, and to explain how the program will work, who will be eligible to become a supporter, who won't, and who can be a beneficiary. So let's agree from the beginning of this video that if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, I will call you a sponsor or a supporter for this video. And for the purposes of the video, if you have Ukrainian friends or family, I will call them beneficiaries, because that's what the forms and this process refers to. So this Uniting for Ukraine is a new streamlined process to bring Ukrainian people and their immediate family members to US to be here for 2 years in the humanitarian parole status. So if everything works out, they're coming with the status of humanitarian parole, and they must be sponsored or supported by a person in the United States. The sponsor has to be either a green card holder or a passport US citizen holder, or they could be here in a good non-immigrant status, meaning they never violated their H1, L1, O1 visa, or even the student F1 visa, or a TPS holder, or a parole holder. It could be somebody that themselves have humanitarian parole already, and this person can show that they have enough income and assets, or just income, or just assets, to support the family they have and the family from Ukraine who's coming here. It's very important to say that this program specifically says that the sponsor or the supporter will be responsible for the following things. The sponsor has to help the beneficiary arrive to the United States, transport them to a place like an apartment, help them rent an apartment, provide them with necessities, ensure that they're safe and have appropriate housing for the whole 2 years that they're going to be here, and the basic necessities like toilet paper, food, water, and so on. You will have to help them complete paperwork for the work permit, to get the social, to look for a job, to learn English, and enroll kids into school. Also, you will have to help them get health insurance and medical insurance. And it's not clear if you expected to pay for it, but it looks like they want you to be responsible to help them pay for medical and healthcare insurance and make sure they get treatment if they need it. Also, you'll have to help them enroll in school, like in college, if they're interested in being a student, learn English, secure a job, and I mentioned enrolling the kids in school. The sponsor has to show that they're able to financially support this family. So step one, if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, is to enroll into my USCIS account on the uscis.gov website. So you have to open your My USCIS account to be able to begin this. Before you get all the forms together, make sure you prepare the documentation to show who you are as a sponsor and whatever is necessary from the beneficiaries. Every person, the sponsor and the beneficiary, needs to have a copy of their passport. Every person has to have a copy of their birth certificate, especially to prove the relationships in the family. Every person who is a green card holder should also provide a copy of the front and back of their green card for the supporters, and also if you are a non-immigrant visa holder or you're an asylee. By the way, if you have asylum, you already got asylum. Or if you have TPS or DACA or DED, you also could be a supporter, but you will need to prove, and you have to have documents to prove your status. Prepare that, set that aside. Prepare your tax return for the last financial year with a W-2 and a 1099. You will need a letter from your employer on their letterhead to show the date of your hire, what kind of a position do you hold, how much do you get, like a salary, annual salary, And if it's a permanent or temporary position, you need to have a letter from your employer dated now, because your tax return covers last year, but you need to prove your employment right now. So the letter will cover you in that way. If you have not enough income, and you can check if you have enough income by doing the following. First, you need to figure out how many family members and dependents you already have. Let's say it's 3 people, you, a wife, and a child, 3 people. Count the beneficiary numbers. So the beneficiary family could be a mom and 2 kids. That's 3 people. 3 of your family plus 3 beneficiaries is 6. You look up on the website uscis.gov. You go to the page for I-864P to show the amounts for the poverty guidelines. You look up the 125% amount for a family of 6. It's something around 47,000. So if you don't have 47,000 for your W-2 last year or for your 1099 from last year, you need to add your assets, meaning your liquid bank accounts or your real estate or like a car, to the assets list in the form. And we're going to get to the form in a minute. This process begins by filing the form I-134 Declaration of Support online. You have to upload the form and click all the things there and do an electronic signature in the form in your My USCIS account. And you will have to upload whatever paperwork you have. That means you have to first prepare the paperwork, scan it, make sure you have PDFs, and be able to upload it when you're done with the electronic filling out of the form. So once you have all the paperwork that you need for the assets, for your income, for your passport, ID. By the way, it's a good idea to have an ID also, like a driver's license that you hold. And for every beneficiary, you will need a passport, a birth certificate with English translation. And if they have assets, because the form is asking about the beneficiaries, the Ukrainian people's assets, like if they have a house, they have a bank account, for every asset that either you or the beneficiary own, you need to provide papers. You need to have a document to show how much it's worth, to prove the amount you're putting in the form, that you didn't just pull it out from thin air, that you didn't make it up, right? For that, for you in the United States, or for somebody that has an account from Ukraine, you need a bank letter on the letterhead of the bank, signed by an officer of the bank, anybody who works in the bank and is providing this letter for you, saying the date the account was opened, how much was deposited into the account over the last 12 months, the present balance in the account, and that you are the owner of this account. All this should be in a letter. So for you and for the beneficiaries, you need a bank letter if you're planning to use a bank account or like a trading or an investment account. I don't think you should be using IRA or pension funds for this, but any liquid account, something that you can create and create cash out of, like you could cash out from that account, you can use. The form, let's talk about the form I-134, Declaration of Support. Before you upload anything, I recommend you print out instructions to form I-134 and you print out the form itself and fill it out before you upload anything. Before you submit it online, fill out the form according to the instructions. Get familiar with the instructions. Get familiar with what USCIS and Department of Homeland Security wants you to promise to do. That's why it's called a declaration. You declare, you promise to the federal government to do the following. They have questions there that are uncomfortable. Be prepared, they might ask you for biometrics. That means you, the supporter, you could be the US citizen here, will have to do fingerprints if they request it. And if you don't, this case will be denied and your Ukrainian family will not come here. You could get a request for evidence. That means it's a letter from USCIS asking you to add anything about your financials or about who you are. They have a right to question your identity, your finances, your assets, and your income. I recommend, if you have a choice here, if you're going to use a tax return, to order an IRS transcript online. You can order it, download it, and use an official copy. An IRS transcript of the return is official copy of the return. I recommend getting everything ahead of time before you start uploading or filling anything out online. So all these things, bank letters, tax returns or tax transcripts, copies of everybody's passport and birth certificate and marriage certificate, if the family is like a husband and a wife, should be prepared with English translations ahead of time and made into PDF files, and the files have to be of certain size when you start uploading things, right? The other thing that you should be prepared for is to prove any relationships here of the beneficiaries. You can file pretty much for anyone with any relationship to you in Ukraine, but the Ukrainian people have to be either a Ukrainian citizen or a spouse of a Ukrainian citizen, or a common law spouse. If they lived together without an official marriage, that's okay too. And their kids, and you have to prove the family resided full-time, lived in Ukraine as of February 11, 2022, and were displaced by the war from their homes. So if the persons you're filing for, the beneficiaries, are Ukrainian citizens but lived like in Portugal or Italy on February 11, 2022, not visiting, but like lived in Portugal, resided more than 6 months, they won't be eligible, right? You could be, as a sponsor, a citizen, a holder of asylum status, a refugee, a parolee, a DACA person, a green card holder, but they have to prove they were citizens of Ukraine or a spouse of a Ukrainian citizen, and they lived and resided in Ukraine as of February 11, 2022. Who will not be eligible for this program? People inside the United States, not eligible for the program. If they're already here in any status, anybody inside the United States not eligible for uniting for Ukraine. If there's kids coming who are under 18 and don't have a legal parent or legal guardian accompanying them, they won't be allowed to come in, or they could even go into like a special Department of Health foster care. Just make sure if there's a child under 18 coming in, they have a parent or a legal guardian accompanying them. So they also might be turned away, not eligible. If your financial declaration of support is not approved and confirmed by USCIS, they will not come. They will be denied and they will not be eligible. So what happens after the I-134 is considered sufficient or approved by USCIS? You did all the paperwork, you uploaded everything, you sent it through your My USCIS account. The next step is your friends in Ukraine or your family in Ukraine, whoever you're filing for, they should open each of them My USCIS account too, right? So you're expected to do one declaration per person, one I-134 per person for every Ukrainian family member, even kids, even babies. Everyone needs their own form and their own passport and so on. Everyone has to have a valid Ukrainian passport. Once you did that and all of these are approved, they will receive a letter, a communication into their My USCIS account with the cue to begin biometrics, to have uploaded or proved their vaccination status. They have to be fully vaccinated for COVID and for everything else, all the public diseases that we don't want to hear. And they will have to do whatever is necessary for them to do biometrics, for them to clear themselves for arrests and terrorism issues. Once they complete, and if everything goes well, they will be approved for this humanitarian parole through this program for 2 years. They will have 90 days to enter United States with this status. After 90 days, they lose their right to come in. USCIS expects you to pay, or for them to pay from their own funds to come in here. And once they're here, you're expected to help them settle in and do everything they're supposed to do to live here, get the work permit going. That means we can help you once they come in to apply for their work permits, get the socials going, and get jobs, start learning English and all that good stuff. Within 14 days of them entering the United States, they will have to do a tuberculosis test and another test, medical testing. So within 14 days, they have to do special medical testing like people did on Ellis Island in the 1900s when this immigration really started to become strong into the United States and people were coming in by ships, just like that. Let's talk about their status real quick. If they get this United for Ukraine status, it's a 2-year humanitarian parole. it does not lead to a green card. It allows them to apply for the work permit, but they cannot legally work until they get the work permit. The work permit triggers automatically the printing of the Social Security card, and they will get it by the mail. Hopefully you filled out the forms right, and it'll be automatic. They will be here for 2 years. Within those 2 years, they can adjust status. Like if they marry a U.S. citizen, or if one of their kids over 21 is a citizen, they can get green cards through those family members. Not sure yet if they'll be able to get like a work visa or a green card through work or a green card through those longer waiting lines, like siblings, U.S. citizens filing for siblings, or U.S. citizens filing for married children. I don't think they will inside the United States, but if they're in status, they will be able to travel to an embassy, let's say in Frankfurt in Germany or in Poland or Slovenia, and get their papers there through those longer categories. Remember to file for asylum, full-fledged asylum in the United States. You have 1 year from coming in. So if they travel with the new program here, like, I don't know, July 1st, they have until the next June 30th to file for asylum. How long is the wait? I don't know. It's a new program, hopefully a couple of months, no more than that. How many people are going to be able to come? They said up to 100,000. What do I think of this program? I think it's very complex. It's done fully online. I think that it's going to take a lot of hours to prepare the paperwork and do the forms and submit online, and we don't have those kinds of resources at our office, so we are not taking any U4U cases, but we'll be happy to help anybody inside the United States already, or when they come. Welcome, we can help them file for the work permits, asylum, anything else they're interested in. Give us a call with any immigration needs. We're here for you. We're happy to work with you. We have a big team. I'm just one of many, and consultations are done by other attorneys. We have paralegals helping everyone. We hope you give us a call and give us a chance. Bye-bye.